So my sister, when she got her first car, at some point the engine just totally froze up. It just totally like locked into place, and they ended up having to redo the engine entirely. And come to find out, the reason is she didn't know you were supposed to change the oil. Somehow in the whole process of getting this teenager ready for her first car, nobody bothered telling her that there's more than just putting gas in it. And she just didn't know. Nobody had bothered telling her. And, obviously that's necessary as much as cars, they do their thing. Without the lubrication, it's going to just cause problems, and you need to maintain it. The reason I start with this story is because I believe that is absolutely true in our relationships. Our relationships are designed to function. They're designed to function well. But if we don't have regular maintenance to them, they are going to completely lock up and break. And relationships are such a key part of our life that we are not going to function well. We aren't going to succeed. We aren't going to be wise if we don't handle our relationships well. And you can see how desperately we need that. We have a nation that doesn't seem to be able to get along with one another. We have a community that's easily divided. But I think this is all downstream of the fact that you and I have at our very root a problem that makes all of our relationships difficult. Now, certainly relationships can go bad in a whole bunch of different ways, but I want to talk about one thing in particular. And so I'm going to get right into it right from the beginning and just go with the first blank in your outline and let you understand that relationships break down from ongoing hatred. Now, I know I'm speaking boldly. Give me a chance to try to back this up. You see, the thing is that as we are interacting with one another, as we live with one another, as we just have life, little things happen that get under our skin, right? Little annoying things, like they don't put the toilet paper on the right way, or they don't put their cup in the sink, or maybe somebody, when they talk, they roll their eyes or smirk or whatever, and these little things can go against it, and we begin to build up, like we get frustrated with those little things, and they affect us emotionally. Interestingly enough, as I'm going to try to argue, they affect us spiritually. But it doesn't have to be limited to those little things. The truth is, you and I are broken people, and we do big things to one another as well. We will say that thing that we shouldn't have said. I didn't really mean to say, you're like your mom. Okay, I meant it, but I shouldn't have said it. And the thing is I do other things. Maybe I don't show up at a time when you really need me. I break trust. I hide something from you. And when I do those big things that are wrong, it's going to impact us. It impacts me when those who do it, and I begin to see that in them, and I harbor a sense of bitterness and resentment, and I think the word for that biblically is hatred. It's absolutely hatred. And one of the tests is that I really long. I long for you or whoever I'm in relationship with to have their comeuppance, to have a time when they have to deal with what they've done to me or what you have failed to do. I long for some way for you to feel the justice of the hurt you've caused me. You remember the Christmas story, right? Not the Christmas story, but a Christmas story. You know, what is it, 1960s Ralphie? You guys know what I'm talking about, right? Some of you nod. Enough of you nod. Okay, there's this one scene in there that really gets that right. At one point, it's this like film noir for those of you who aren't, voiceover with this kid explaining, as an adult explaining his childhood experience. And there's this one scene after him having used a bad word. He is in the bathroom with a big old bar of soap in his mouth as punishment for having spoken this word. And he begins to imagine a scenario in the future where his parents would finally get their comeuppance for doing this to him, where he imagines that he shows up and he's blind and destitute. And the parents say, what happened? And he's like, it's soap poisoning. And so that they feel so bad and they wail and they apologize. And you even see him smirk like we know what's going on in his heart. The same thing that goes on in our heart. If they could just pay the penalty, if they would just finally realize, if they would hurt enough to know what happened to us, and we long for that. And the Bible has lots to say about this concept. Matter of fact, as you know, we have been going through the book of Proverbs. We've been challenging you to read a chapter a day, and that's going to finish up this week. If you are on task, you're going to do 28, 29, 30, and 31 this week, and then we will be done with having gone through the entire book of Proverbs together. And we've challenged each other to as we preach, to pull something from the verses that we're about to read, just even if it's just one verse to talk about. But you know what? It's the last one. I'm not doing that. I'm going to be looking all over the book of Proverbs to talk about this, because relationships and how we deal with it comes up over and over and over. So let me start with this one way back in chapter 10. Whoever conceals hatred with lying lips and spreads slander is a fool. See, I think for us to understand hatred, we're going to have to actually understand three concepts here in the Proverbs. And two of them are in this verse, and we're going to have to get it. And the first one, in the next blank in your outline, is this word conceal. That truthfully, the hatred, the thing in our hearts, the bitterness, the resentment, I know I'm going to use synonyms because I believe we avoid the word hatred. We conceal it definitely from them. We're not going to tell them about our hatred for this event. And maybe we're trying to make a distinction. Well, I don't really hate them. I just hate what they do. And yeah, certainly. But the thing is that we begin to associate with them. And we're not going to tell them. We're not going to just share that. Nor do I think we necessarily should. And we conceal it. But we conceal it from them. Well, this one is tough for me to describe because there's so much going on, and I'm hoping you are picturing in your mind actual relationships that you have in some of these details. But I think we need to know that the hatred in our lives, that bitterness, that resentment, is like planting a seed. And it has the potential to, become a full-blown tree if we allow that to happen. And the thing is we typically conceal our hatred from other people. We often don't tell them about it. But if it grows big enough that it begins to bloom, then they hear about it. Then we let them know. We let them know how angry we are, how self-righteous we are, how good we are, and how bad they are when that happens. And when we hear about that, hey, my husband exploded on me the other day. We are already imagining like, oh, what an idiot. Why would you possibly do that? But what has happened is because we know it's gone from the inside to the outside, and that becomes a problem because generally we conceal it from them. We just keep it on the inside unless we explode. But I suggest we also conceal it from ourselves. The fact that I use the word hatred and that we hate people we are in relationships with, I would be willing to bet most of us responded going, yeah, not really, not me. I don't really have these moments, these instances, this thing in my heart where I hate them even for a second. Oh, maybe a passing thing, but not really. And I wonder how much of that is just the fact that we have, probably rightfully so, turned this idea of hate into an insult that we use for one another, that only bad people hate. I live in Gresham, and on the police vehicles, they have this bumper sticker that says, hate is not a Gresham value. And I think it's stupid that they have that on their, just because it's like, how about instead of telling us what it's not, how about you tell us what the values are? But, okay, be that as it may, the reason they do that is because they want to just be super clear. That's not who we are. That's not what people like us don't do that. And for us to just, we don't ever want to own that. We don't really admit it. Here's the problem. I want to tell you right off front, I get it. The truth is if you believe that you don't hate, and I tell you, well, but you're just in denial because you're concealing it, like that's a rhetorical trap, right? Like if we do that, I don't know, I want to claim anything about you. You know, you have privilege. And you say, no, I don't. And I say, well, then you're in denial. So it's a nice rhetorical trap because I can claim that you have something. And if you agree, then I'm right. And if you disagree, you're in denial and I'm still right. Right? So this is a rhetorical trap, and I don't mean to do that. Even though I do believe it, I believe deep within us, we each and every one of us have the root. And the Bible indicates that that's possible, and it can be fully grown. And so I'll tell you what. One, if you actually believe you are incapable of hatred, especially, well, to anybody, but even to the ones that you care about and love, if you feel that you're incapable of that, I would love to talk to you because you will be the only person I've ever met in my entire life where that's true. So talk to me. I'd love to know your secret. Because the thing is, I think we do have it, and we'll call it bitterness and resentment and those kind of things, but it goes deep. So just be aware, if nothing else, at least here that we need to deeply consider the fact that maybe we are prone to try to not imagine it's true of ourselves, and therefore we don't address it. We talked about a similar concept with envy last week, and I would even argue envy might be a subset of hatred. And so some of the same things are going on. The next concept we need to understand is not only conceal, but he uses the word slander in that verse. Whoever conceals hatred with lying lips and spreads slander is a fool. That idea of slander is not like the legal definition here in the United States where we say slander is when you say something that is false about somebody. My understanding is like if you can prove that it's true, that's an absolute defense against the claim of slander. When the Bible uses the word that we translate as slander, it's not talking about untruth. It's talking about speaking in such a way where your purpose is try to diminish someone in somebody else's eyes. To absolutely diminish it. It's about that what you're trying to do. And so while we conceal it, our hatred from others, from the people that we're hating at the moment, we're concealing it, I think, even from ourselves. One of the things we do is we go and tell people about it. We go and tell the story of how awful they were to us, of how they went over the line. And we begin to share that because we so badly want them to understand, to agree with us, and diminish that person in their eyes so that we can feel validated when we diminish them too. And we'll do it. I'm just talking to my friends about a story. I'm just telling them like it is. Or maybe we're really spiritual about it. I just want to tell you, brother, so that you can pray for this. One of the challenges when we were talking about Proverbs, we've mentioned this over and over. Proverbs is not a bunch of just rules. It's not about a bunch of moral rules. Because there are some moral rules within Scripture, things about don't steal and don't murder and things like that, right? And the moral rules definitely need to be applied, but there are some times when we're in a place where it's not just moral rules, like things are moral, but we have to be really discerning, and that's how wisdom works, is to know when to use this and that. And the truth is sometimes we do talk to others about something that someone else has done, because we actually are looking for a solution. We want our friends to help us with a solution. We ask somebody to pray because we really do need prayer over a circumstance. And so it's not the action that's always wrong. I'm telling you, though, that sometimes in our hearts we do it specifically to diminish someone else. We want them as a way to know that other people know how right we are and how bad they are. And if that's our motivation, this is what it's talking about. This is literally, we are fools when we do that. One other concept here in Proverbs 24:17. Do not gloat when your enemy falls. And like I said, I really believe that this is certainly true of an enemy, but for those who we love, I think we do it as well. Because we've created them as an enemy in our heart when we begin to build up this resentment and hatred. Do not gloat when your enemy falls. When they stumble, do not let your heart rejoice. And see, we are all about that. You know, we are all, I'm going to drink liberal tears. Like, we are all about making sure we rejoice when those we dislike, when those we are angry with, when those we hate, that they stumble and fall, and man, it feels good. Man, to watch them get their comeuppance, to have that happen, man, it feels great. And we want to rejoice when those who have hurt us in any way, those we are in relationship with, as they begin to hurt us, we long for that. And the thing is this word heart, it's difficult to translate in English because when we talk about our heart, usually in English we are talking about our emotions. I mean, it's going to be Valentine's Day, and we love with all of our heart is to say we love with all of our emotions. We want to get, but when the Bible's talking about it here, a better way to understand it, it's about who we are deep inside. It's about our very personhood, our soul. It is to say that, and so that when they stumble, do not let your soul, let your very life, like who you truly are, do not rejoice. You see, because what is happening is as we do that, we talked about it being a seed, right? And we're planting that seed into our very lives. We plant that and we say, this is who I am. And it starts to distort us and we become that which we hate. And we begin, what? We cartoonize one another. So Henry and I, long ago, when I think I might have been in college at the time, or we went to it's called Worlds of Fun. It's like an amusement park. It's the Kansas equivalent of Disneyland. Actually, I think it's in Missouri. But in any case, it was just across the border, Kansas City, Missouri, and we go there and there was a guy doing caricatures. You've seen that where they do that kind of stuff, and they do pictures of my brother and I I don't even know where that is. That's somewhere around. But in any case, the thing is, it's funny about it is, he's doing this picture, they're doing these things, and the picture itself, when they do these caricatures, these cartoons, they take something they happen to notice, that the artist happens to notice and accentuate it. So at that time in my life, I had a widow's peak. Yes, I did have hair. And so that is very accentuated on there, right? He just noticed that and very accentuated. And the thing is we do that same kind of caricature of other people, right? We take this thing that they did, that they hurt us with, and we ascribe that to them. It's not that they were mean to us, it's that they are mean. It's not that they lied to us, they are a liar. Right? And we give them that label and put them in that box, and we accentuate that above all other things. And the thing is, we don't do that to ourselves. We don't do that about, I'm not a liar, I was just tired, or I wasn't thinking straight, or that's not the real me, or I didn't really mean that, or things are complicated and why I had to do it. I've got all kinds of reasons and excuses, but you, on the other hand, when you do it, it's because you're that type of person. You see what I've done? Right? That character, I've taken that thing and I've made it big. We have to understand when we plant that seed into our souls, into our hearts, when we plant that into us, it can grow, and it can grow into this tree and grow into a forest. It could grow to that hatred is the seed of murder itself. I mean, you think I'm exaggerating? Do you have a problem with me using that kind of hyperbolic language? That seed of that bitterness because you're resentful of something that somebody's done? Well, then you're going to have problems with Jesus because he talks about that on the Sermon on the Mount. Remember, he says, you've seen that it says, do not commit murder, but I tell you, if you say to someone, fool, or raka, which is to say you are worthless. You say that to somebody, then I tell you, says Jesus, that you have committed murder in your heart. It's who we are, and we start to become who we hate, and we to make sure they get their comeuppance and to deal with that. Like it's going to grind, and our engine of relationship is going to freeze up because we're allowing this into our life. And the thing is if any of this, as I have said, if you have got some sense that the Spirit has said, yeah, at least at some level you do this, I have made the claim, and I'll challenge you otherwise, I think every one of us does that. And so if it's true of you, it's also true of the people you're in a relationship with. And it is a reality that we have to face, and we have to maintain. And so let me show you the maintenance plan. 3 things that at least that are mentioned, a couple things that are mentioned in Proverbs. The first, heart, by the way, this last one. Drop superiority. Notice here in 11:12, whoever belittles his neighbor lacks sense, but a man of understanding remains silent. Whoever belittles his neighbor, that concept of belittling, it means to make them little so that I'm big. You see, it's very difficult to hate someone without feeling superior to them. Because what we do is when we hate them, it's because we have convinced ourselves, I would never do that. They are the kind of people that do that. They need to pay. Because if it's something I do, then I kind of get it. Like I'm kind of understanding. If I'm not morally superior, if I'm on the same plane or underneath, and then I say, yeah, you know what? I get it. I've been there. I understand that. It happens to me. But if I can maintain this gaslighting in my head that says I am not capable of that, it makes it a lot easier to feel self-righteous and go after you. That I'm able to find a way to do that. I would never. I've known people, maybe you have too, I've literally known people who say I would never do that as they're mad and angry and hating on someone, and I'm like, I actually remember a time when you did do that. By the way, my experience has been that's not a good time to point that out. But it's true. I'm kind of running short on time. Let me just make this as a statement. I think there's a root deep within with what's going on and why we do that. That idea of moral superiority, being superior to not only that person, we end up extending it to whole groups of people. I'm morally superior than those people on the other political party, and morally superior to those kind of people who do this and that race and that group and that community. Like we do that kind of sin, that kind of foolishness, that kind of idiocy, I think comes from a root that says that, two things. I stand in the place of God. It's my job to condemn, to point out that what's right, what's good, what's good enough, like all my sin and all my struggles, like that, those aren't that big a deal, but the ones you've done to me, those are big. Like that is some level of me playing God. But at the same level, I know I'm unqualified. That's why people get so angry if you judge them. How dare you judge me? Why? Because what you're doing is you're breaking through that illusion that I am morally superior. And I think we know that at our root, and we are so desperate to make sure we point out their bad, their evil, so we can hide from our own brokenness. Again, I don't have time to develop that more. Let me just go on with another. So the first is we've just got to drop superiority. If nothing else, even if they sin differently than we do, we should at least all be familiar with the idea of sin. And to say, okay, I may have not done that, but I've done things that I can see could lead to that. I've planted that acorn in my life, and I could see how if I continued to water it I know I'm mixing metaphors, I didn't maintain my engine, how that would ultimately lead to this conclusion. I understand that. So drop that superiority. Basically, all the evil in life that you've ever seen, understand that at your root, you are capable of it too. Secondly, give up on getting even. I mean, at one level, just don't, right? Proverbs 24:29, do not say, I'll do to them as they have done to me. I'll pay them back for what they did. Look also at this one in 17:9. Whoever would foster love covers over an offense, but whoever repeats the matter separates close friends. Who would ever cover over? That idea of cover, that idea of pay them back, that's financial language, right? That's to say, by hurting me, they have a debt and they owe me. And I'm going to get what I deserve out of them. This is the idea of paying back. And at some level, I mean, that's where the word cover, it's not cover like cover over and pretend it doesn't exist, conceal kind of thing. It's more like, if go to lunch and say, Bill, don't worry about it, I'll cover this. It's more that sense, right? That you're saying you're going to pay, you're going to take care of it. And so this idea is, okay, I've heard people say over and over, here's what you really need to make a marriage work. Here's what you need in a relationship. You know what the number one thing you need? Communication. That's what I'll hear. And I tell you, it's absolutely wrong. I think communication is important. Don't get me wrong. I think it's super important. It would be top 5. Number 1, grace. Number 1 is grace. The ability to say, I take your brokenness, I even suffer on behalf of your brokenness without having to pay you back. Because I tell you, if you and I can't do that in our relationships will ultimately break down every time. Every time. You have to forgive. And you may ask me, like, well, how? How? Like, I don't feel like forgiving. How do I feel that? And I'm like, okay, here's what you do. You just do it. You act forgiving before you feel forgiving. If nothing else, how about this? Whoever repeats the matter separates close friends. Do this. Don't repeat. Don't repeat it unnecessarily to them. Don't repeat it to other people. And don't repeat it in your own heart. And what I mean by that is you're not going to bring it, hey, remember that time? And we're going to keep bringing that up into your life. That's one of the ways I can show I'm not forgiving. I'm going to keep bringing it up. Now, the thing is I'll get to this in a second. But that unnecessarily, I know that's carrying a lot of meaning in that word, but I'll get to it. That unnecessarily bringing it up to them. But definitely not bringing it up to other people unnecessarily. Like, why would I bring it up to them? I don't need to tell that story to try to diminish them, to get them on my side. And even in my own life, and when it comes up, and it comes up in my head, and I want to rehearse it on how they hurt me, and get myself lathered up in this sense of like foaming at the mouth kind of, I'm justified in being angry. That instead we say, I am not going to do that. I'm going to offer grace. And here's what's going to happen. If you commit to doing this, let me tell you what's going to happen. Next time it comes to your mind, and you think about this hurt that was done to you, and you just say, okay, I forgive them and let it go, it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt to even say that. Because here's the thing we don't talk about enough. Forgiveness always hurts. It always hurts. I mean, isn't that what Jesus did on the cross? He hurt to forgive us. He took upon the sins of the world and separation from God for us. I understand we don't want to pay that price. But to not is to be foolish. Because the Bible actually even goes farther. If your enemy is hungry, give him food to eat. If he's thirsty, give him water to drink. In doing this, you will heap burning coals on his head, and the Lord will reward you. I left that second one, so maybe it makes it easier. Say, okay, fine. I'm going to punish you by being good. I'm going to bring goodness where there is evil. Here's another. Let's just mix another metaphor in there. Pinball, right? I often think of us like this world of pinball where this ball, you know how it hits the bumper and it accelerates it and hits another bumper, which accelerates it more and it hits another bumper? Like, this is how I imagine the brokenness and sin in our world as we deal with one another. That I'm hurting, so I hurt you, and then you're hurting and you hurt someone else. And it goes and accelerates and it keeps going and keeps going. It gets bigger and bigger and breaking down families and relationships and connections and communities and churches and the world. And as it keeps, and what we need is someone, somewhere that is willing to say, instead of taking it and throwing it back, I will absorb it without passing it on. I will pay to forgive without making it more. And we are in desperate need of that. We follow a Savior who did that for us and has asked if we need to maintain our relationships that we do that for one another. And notice in your outline, the next thing I put is, but, because I am willing to bet as I say these things that some of you come into your mind, but, you don't understand. Like, what they did was really bad. And but, like, do I need to forgive them and be in a relationship with them again? Like, I don't know, maybe not. Maybe not. Like, I'm not, forgive certainly, but maybe you don't need to be in a relationship with them. There's this whole passion, wisdom, but maybe not. Maybe, this is that whole idea, right? That sometimes it's not about a moral rule. I'm not giving you a rule that no matter what was done to you, make sure you get in a position to have it happen again. But I just want to point these things out that you know, the truth is sometimes a relationship can be so abusive that it should not continue. Sometimes a relationship can be so toxic that it should not continue. But I have to tell you, I have never met anybody in the past 10 years who didn't break off a relationship, who hasn't broken off a marriage, using two words over and over: they were abusive and toxic. Every single one of them. Every single one. And you've got to think it probably happened in some cases, but do you think it happened in every case? Could it be that we use that language to justify our own hatred? Maybe. Maybe. And I'm not speaking into your life and telling you what you need to do in terms of a given relationship, but what I want to tell you is what God is saying. Maybe, you know, it's like, what? So I never bring this up? I never talk to them about it? Well, sure. Like, here's better is an open rebuke than hidden love. Wounds from a friend can be trusted. An enemy multiplies kisses. That means an enemy is going to pretend like nothing's wrong and just do that. But a trusted friend will confront you on difficult stuff. But so at some point in your relationship, you're going to have to talk about tough stuff. But the thing is you should do those other things first. Commit to not repeating it unnecessarily. Commit to not telling others about it unnecessarily. Commit to not bringing it up and rehearsing it in your head over and over. You need to be able to do these things. You need to be willing to deal with your own hatred in your own life, the idea of slander and how that affects your heart before you ever get to confronting them on the issue. But here's the thing I really want to end with. Here's the thing I want us to consider. And I don't know about your specific relationship and your specific thing, the specific pain, but notice this. This passage we read this past week. Do not gloat when your enemy falls. Remember, we just read that. When they stumble, do not let your heart rejoice. Right? Don't let that affect you. But notice that second verse. Or the Lord will see and disapprove and turn his wrath away from them. What's going on here? I mean, what I wanted to say is, don't gloat. Don't laugh when they do it, because then God will get them. God will smite them, and he'll send down the lightning bolt, and he'll make them pay. That's what I wanted to say. But see, when I want that, that's that acorn, that seed of hatred in there. What he says, it says, or the Lord will see and disapprove of me. You see, what God is saying, your hatred that you're allowing to well up inside of you is at least as big, if not bigger, than what they did to you. I think we should take that seriously. Let's pray. Lord, I need you to forgive me. I need your healing grace because it's so easy for me to rehearse the pains between me and the people I love, me and the people I don't really like very much. And man, it sure would feel good to express that anger and plant that seed of hatred, but you tell me that I'm a fool for doing it. And so, Lord, I don't want to just be an idiot. I don't want to be separated from you. I need you to heal me and forgive me. Which is ironic, right? Because I'm asking you to let go of what I'm trying to hold on to. The hurt and the pain. The anger and the hatred. But I know you're God and I'm not. And that in your love and your grace, you say you are willing out of your own justice and faithfulness to do that very thing and forgive me if I am willing to do that and repent. So, Lord, that's also what I need. I need you to help me be really quick to move those seeds out of my life. Every time I'm tempted to plant a seed of hatred, bitterness, because my relationship's needed. I live in a broken world, and I am in a relationship with broken people. So it shouldn't surprise me. It shouldn't surprise me that we have a world that is broken and messed up because it's made up of broken, messed up countries. And I shouldn't be surprised to find broken and messed up countries because they're made of broken and messed up states and regions. And I shouldn't be surprised to find states that are broken and messed up because they're made up of counties and cities and neighborhoods that are broken. And I shouldn't be surprised to find those broken neighborhoods because in those broken neighborhoods are churches, and those churches are broken. And I shouldn't be surprised to find those churches are broken because they're made up of people like me. So, Lord, start with me. Heal me. Let me live a life of grace and compassion to maintain the relationships so that by that healing, maybe I can have better relationships and a better church and a better community, better state, a better country, and ultimately a better world. You are our only hope. Lead me. Forgive me in Jesus' name. Amen. Sorry, this one a little bit long, but I am asking that we still do a little bit of open worship. Reflect a little bit on what God may be saying to you. If you need to speak, certainly I'm not going to tell you not to. But the whole idea is for us to hear from God. And if you've got something that God has laid on your heart that you think we need to hear, by all means, we'll hear that. I'll close this in a couple minutes.